Oh, we are going to stick with this lioness for a while. Hopefully she finds the pride. But Scott has got a male lion in the Mara. Let's go and have a look.
Hello everyone. We have found not one, but two young male lions, and we're just giving them some time to see what they get up to. They could well be spending the rest of the day here, and there doesn't seem to be much prey in the area, sadly. They are quite hungry, and that's probably a tribute to the fact that they are still learning the ropes of hunting. And like I said, there is not much prey in the area. Most of the herds are further north of where we are. We're on our way to a few more herds to kind of the south of where we are, so these guys are in the middle of where most of the wildebeest are on this side of the Mara. The one that's standing up is slightly bigger than the one who's lying down now, so maybe they're not brothers, maybe they are cousins from the same pride, born at a similar time, and they have come of the age where they need to start fending for themselves and start looking for a territory of their own. Possibly, I mean, you may find that they are still trying to touch base with mom or their mothers and aunts as much as they can in order to try and cash in on some easy meals. So no different to young children who are leaving home at around 18, who enjoy getting mom's home-cooked food from time to time. Now, let me just move forward a little bit. I have noticed some potential prey skipping through the plains to the left of them, where they're looking, in the direction they're looking, but sadly the lions don't seem to be doing anything. So there go all the topi, and as you can see, nice long grass. It would have been a great spot to be able to lay an ambush, but it appears like these guys have possibly had a long night as it stands and are not interested in taking a stab at those topi. They're definitely looking in that direction, but I think they've missed the boat. Sounds like you guys have had an exciting morning. Taylor's had lots of good lion action on the hunt. Not too sure what Byron's been up to. I'm guessing still working on his bird list. And I wish him luck in getting to triple digits. Hello Saha, you would like to know if all lions have got a similar coat coloration and pattern, and as a general rule, yes. I mean, most lions do look very similar. You do occasionally get a slightly pale version or a slightly darker version. With the males, there's definitely a distinctive difference in their mane colors. So when these guys grow up, one may have a dark mane and one may have a blonde mane. So mane coloration does vary, but the general body color is pretty much standard, unless, of course, you are lucky enough to see a very rare gene of lions, a recessive gene that causes them to be leucistic or white. And there's some of those in South Africa at the moment, some in the Timbavati, which is adjacent to the Kruger National Park and open to it, just north of the Sabi Sands where Byron is. And also on a very similar latitude, further east into the Kruger National Park, there are, I think there's one male, possibly two white males in a pride in an area around a concession called the Nwanetsi concession. So there are a few white lion living in the wild at the moment, but there are very few of them. So that would be an example of a drastically different colored coat. Okay, well, I think that these guys are not going to be up to much more, or much at all. So we're going to take a gamble and go and look for some more active lions, possibly closer to some more of the migratory herds, as we would like to try and find you guys some action as opposed to just sit with sleeping lions. Very good. Well, thankfully while we go and look for a lioness, you won't have to go too far because Byron's got one with him right now.
We are still sitting with this lioness, and thank you, Scott. It would be great to get to triple digits with the bird count. I don't know though if we're going to be lucky to get that high, but you never know. I'd like to get to over 80 this morning. Need 4 more to get over 80. The sunset line is calling. It's not a full roar at all. There's just a contact call.
Sunset.
Sensei says it sounds a bit sad, like she's looking for the pride. So I'm just listening to the radio quickly. Janine, I don't know how far these calls can be heard from. I'm not sure how sensitive the lion's hearing is when it comes to these contact calls. So I don't know, Janine. I've got no idea. Obviously a full roar will be heard much further away, but I don't know, she's not interested in calling, and I can't hear anything being returned. I can't hear another lion calling back. So just what you were saying, I can't hear anything being returned, and Anna Marie, you were asking if they would contact call back. Indeed, they would definitely, or they would possibly come and look for her and head in this direction. It's starting to warm up quite nicely. We're sitting in the sun here, and so Senzo, you might just have to tap me on the shoulder in case I doze off every now and then. It's so pleasant. It's really, really nice. Apparently it's 19 degrees Celsius and about 66 Fahrenheit. Again, Megan, I think that is wrong. I laugh so much at this. I laugh so much at this weather station that we get our reports from. I think it's so off. It feels a bit warmer than that. And other times when it's really cold, then it tells us that it's warmer. I don't know. Maybe my internal thermostat is broken, perhaps. I really hope this lioness has luck in finding the pride. It's funny, part of me wishes that she finds the pride, and then there's a part of me that wishes we were heading in the other direction towards the cubs. That would have been a really nice surprise for this morning. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's so lovely to see a lioness. Follow her around. See, now this, I mean, it could change. She could continue moving around. She could go and try and find the pride. She's been contact calling, no luck just yet. She could also stay, rest, and starting to warm up, as I said. So she might rest a bit and maybe move around a bit later, or wait for the pride to call, possibly. And I don't know what's going to happen. Tally, you said, what is that whining sound? And could it be my tummy wanting coffee? Well, I am getting hungry. That's what I'm hungry a lot, everyone. It's a problem. I do get quite hungry from time to time, and I suffer from hangry. I get quite grumpy when I'm hungry. But I think that sound that you heard was the lioness. It wasn't my belly. No, I'm trying to, while I'm sitting here, I'm still scanning around for some birds that we haven't got on our list yet. I'm still sitting on 76. I can hear a orange-breasted bushrack, and I've heard the orange-breasted bushrack a number of times, but unfortunately we just can't find it. I'm going to reposition quickly. You can stay with us. I'll just try to get to the other side. Also, I think if I reposition, it'll help me so that I don't doze off. Turned out to be a lovely morning. Elephant, lions. The kudu. Yeah, kudu. The lone ranger of Djuma at the moment. Everyone else is either on leave or in the Mara. Oh, so Byron, the lone ranger of Djuma. Might stick. What do you think, Senzo? We've at least got another cameraman. Soon too. And tomorrow. But weren't you just on leave? I'm joking. The worst thing for somebody who works in the bush, the worst thing you can say to them when they say they are going on leave, and you say, but weren't you just on leave? Oh, they get very grumpy at the end of 6 weeks, or depending on the cycles that they work. Here it's a bit different. I think it's mix and match. It's sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. But generally within the lodges, it's a 6-week period on, and that's every day. Just remember, you don't get weekends or public holidays out in the bush. And then they have 2 weeks off. So by the end of 6 weeks, people are ready to go away and they're ready for a break. So you can say to them, but weren't you just on leave? Gets them every time. I do enjoy winding people up. Believe it or not. I'm just listening to the radio again. Ben, this lioness is in good condition, and she got to feed the other day on quite a bit of buffalo meat, so she's fed recently, but that was, last time she fed was 2 days ago, so pretty soon she'd start looking for some food again. She doesn't want to leave it too long. Some quailias flying past. We've seen them. Sure, there really are no birds close by. Oh, we almost had a long-billed crombeck yesterday. It disappeared a little bit too quickly for us. We didn't get it, no, Senzo, we didn't. We need that, we need the heron. Now Steph is also joining us this morning, and Steph, I think, is sitting in the control room, and he's, I think, busy playing with the river cams and probably got some nice views. Let's go and have a look.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to these river cameras that we have on the Mara River here in Kenya. My name is Steph Winterboer, and have a look at this fantastic animal behavior that we have. Those are obviously hippo, and in the water is a dead wildebeest. Now, these wildebeest die during the migration, crossing the river, either through drowning or just through crocodile kills. And it's not an uncommon thing to read about or hear about hippo eating off of carcasses, but it's a very rarely filmed or documented occurrence, and I'm hoping that this hippo starts to actually feed on this carcass. Right now, it's just showing a lot of interest in it, and because hippo are such gregarious animals, any interest that they show quite often attracts the interest of others, and you can definitely see that this hippo is taking more than just a cursory investigation at this carcass. It's difficult to say whether or not the carcass is open, and I'm wondering if we are going to see these hippo actually open the carcass. As far as I'm aware, this is quite rare behavior. It's not stuff that you see often. You can see that mouth opening display that hippo is doing, it's not a laugh or a smile. That's actually that hippo's agitation showing through. I can't imagine that something dead and smelly for a herbivore is anything but a little bit, I suppose, it'll generate some anxiety in an animal. It's not a scavenger. They don't get excited by it. But just have a look. Now, for those of you who didn't know, hippo are herbivores. They eat mostly grass with a few water weeds and mostly coarse grass as well. Very good at digesting grass, but for many years it's been recorded that hippo will feed off of carcasses. They will feed on carrion, and at times we've actually seen hippo coming to almost, it looks like they're coming in to rescue wildebeest and topi and zebra from the mouths of crocodiles. I just think it's them reacting to the excitement of the moment. But this is definitely, this carcass has been here since yesterday, and this young hippo, that's the one on the left hand side, has now been joined by a slightly older hippo, the one on the right hand side, and I'm wondering if they are going to try and feed on this carcass. And going around to the other side, it's been chewing on the horn there. It is just such weird behavior. Myself and James were going through a couple of scientific papers of hippo the other day, and one of the papers that we read was actually about hippos eating meat, and it went into a lot of detail about what type of digestion they got, but the gist of it, from what I could gather at least anyway, is that most herbivores retain the ability to digest some meat and it is a residual of being able to digest milk when we are babies. So it doesn't matter how much of a herbivore you are, basically, as far as I can gather, at least anyway, we do retain, or herbivores do retain, some ability to digest meat and augment their diet into adulthood, and that is what we're seeing here. Well, that's what they think, at least anyway. Faisal, you just asked if the hippos would feed on the meat or whether they actually feed on the tummy contents, what the animal's been eating. That is a very, very good question, Faisal. From the study that James and I were reading, they feed on the meat. But what could be the draw card is the fact that these wildebeest have got a lot of fresh grass in their rumen, and perhaps the smell to a hippo is irresistible, and that's what draws them in. It's tough to say, Faisal. You know, even in the papers the paper that we were reading, it said that this behavior was recorded, observed, but never witnessed by anyone that was doing the study. And this is the first time I've ever seen this particular action with my own eyes. You can see that hippo there. Definitely haven't got the right teeth for breaking open a carcass. Hippos have got these pig-like incisors in their bottom jaws and in their top jaws, and then they've got these massively enlarged canines, all with slicing parts, but not designed to slice open carcasses. They'd almost have to wait for crocodiles or the carcass to become so rotten, I think, that it would break open on its own accord. However, I don't know how this wildebeest died, and I don't know what type of injuries it has under the surface there. You can see the younger hippo now on the left-hand side making space for the slightly bigger, older hippo on the right. Still not moving off of the carcass and generating a lot of interest from hippos further downstream, as you can see the ones moving in. You know, right now they're not feeding on the carcass. But that definitely doesn't look like they want to have a game of catch with this wildebeest, that's for sure. You can see that one on the right-hand side got his jaw right over the leg. Isn't this just the most amazing thing? Don't forget, this is interactive. Please feel free to ask me questions on Twitter. This, for me, is about as new as it is for you, to be quite honest with it. The only reason why I know a little bit more about this than you do at the moment is that I was very kindly sent a paper on hippos, and one of the papers that we were sent dealt with hippo apparently eating meat, and it was just such an interesting topic that we were reading it to each other here the other day. Now look at what they're doing. Licking it with that massive tongue. Isn't this the most weird thing? Obviously, hippo use their lips to crop grass, and so their lips are actually quite strong. They'll use their tongue then to pull the grass into their mouth underneath their rows of molars. They've got a very well-developed set of molars that starts in the back end of their mouth, basically where their mouth upturns. That's where the hippo's molar starts and extends to just below and perhaps a little bit behind their ears. So a very long molar set. Many molars. I don't exactly know what the dental structure of. There we go. Look at those. You can see those peg-like teeth at the bottom of those enormous incisors. Or canines, at least, anyway. Used only for defense. They don't eat with those teeth at all. Those are just to protect each other. Or actually to fight amongst one another. There's another one. Look how wide my mouth is. Look how big my teeth are. That's basically what message that is sent. I've got a bigger mouth than you. I've got bigger teeth than you. Please leave me alone. That is all that message says. It's a threat display more than anything else. And you probably find that these hippo are getting a little bit territorial over this carcass, and that the bigger hippo wants to dominate this opportunity to get some food. Now, Perry, you just asked if these hippo are trying to puzzle out how to get this carcass out of their territory, and that's also an interesting observation there, Perry. I mean, I've obviously drawn my conclusion from the fact that I arrived, probably prejudiced to the fact that I'm wanting to see hippo eating on a carcass, and I'm now seeing hippo mouthing a dead wildebeest and thinking to myself, it must be the fact that they want to eat some of this thing. When it could very well be something else entirely, and it's not out of the realms of possibility that they are trying to unbeach this carcass, or at least trying to, perhaps not thinking of it exactly like that, but perhaps trying to move this carcass further downstream or into the main flow of the river. So right now, inconclusive there, Perry. Your observation is probably as good as mine at this point. I have no other clues to give, to be honest. Kola, you've made the comment that or asked the question, could it be that they're contaminating the water? I'm not quite sure exactly what you mean by contaminating the water. Is it the hippo trying to contaminate the water, or are they trying to get rid of this putrid carcass that's contaminating their pools? I'll answer both questions if I can with the same answer. Hippo are able to really deal with the most horrifying water conditions that you've ever imagined in your life. Massive amounts of nitrates in the water faze hippo hardly at all. And I can imagine that this flowing river is taking whatever rancid stuff is coming out of that wildebeest and is pushing it downstream. And I don't think that where these hippo live in this pool, it's having much of effect at all. So I don't think so. I don't think it's because they're wanting to move this carcass out of the way because it's making their swimming pool dirty. I would imagine that it's just an investigation. That said, hippo are very, very curious about things outside of the water and anything new. They will quite often come and inspect things quite closely. Mainly these dung posts that they have adjacent to their paths that they walk. Hippo do not have any glands on their skin, any sebaceous glands or any glands of any sort that allow them to leave a marker in their territory or where they're walking around. They only use dung. And for that reason, hippo are very curious about dung posts that they spray. You can see this hippo in the center just starting to flap its tail and deposit some dung. Now they'll do that. The older the hippo, the more they'll do this on bushes and things like that. And almost every hippo that walks down that path will stop and actually investigate those posts quite intimately. And I think that it's their natural curiosity for something that's different that possibly led to this investigation of this carcass. You can see this one is now moved off completely. Day or two from now, if the water level doesn't rise and this carcass doesn't unbeach itself, the crocodiles will start to tear into this carcass, I think. Might even see it today. Anyway, it looks like this hippo is now moved off, and it doesn't look like we're going to get any feeding on this carcass off at this time, at least anyway. We're going to be manning these cameras, obviously, for the rest of the day, and so if anything happens that is exciting, we'll let you know either through the show or after the show through a Facebook Live notification. Anyway, we're going to send you off to Tayla, who's sitting with some buffalo.
Now, a big thing that we've been waiting for at Djuma is, of course, the return of the buffalo. And Byron, a couple of days ago, got the largest herd we've seen in ages. But, Byron, I'm sorry to say that there are bigger herds of buffalo here too. It's unbelievable, the amount of animals that are here. And I'm very excited because, of course, there's even a couple of yellow-billed oxpeckers that are jumping from buffalo to buffalo. We have to wait for that. Oh, I can just see it peeking over sort of where its wither would be. There it is. How great is that? Now, because the buffalo hadn't returned at Djuma, we've obviously been waiting and very patiently for them to come back. And this was one of the exciting birds that we would have had an opportunity to see. They always hang around at the ends of the herds, but they're all around here. It's so cool. It's so nice to see them. I feel like even the buffalo are bigger here. Really, everything is just so much larger. And a lovely herd. There's probably about 40 of them or so. They're quite spread out now, but they've bulked up just in this little area over here, grazing around, also scanning, keeping an eye out for lions. They don't want to be eaten too, but the lions seem to be preoccupied with other things. They're also, the pride lions that we had have now gone to sleep, fast asleep, so we will follow up on them a little bit later. They weren't successful in any of the attempts that they made, but that means this evening they're only going to be more excited. There's a juvenile too. Now, it's quite easy to tell the difference between a red-billed oxpecker and a yellow-billed oxpecker. Firstly, the beak of the yellow-billed oxpecker, in my opinion, is a lot more robust. Also, a larger yellow base, and they lack the yellow orbital ring that they have around their eye. And, of course, you can see it's a juvenile because it's very plain in color. Not even its eye has turned red just yet. And they also feed on different types of ticks compared to the red-billed oxpeckers. They're going for more of the large engorged ticks. That's what they prefer. But how nice is that? I love it. I'm so happy to see buffalo. I can't tell you how amazing it is out here. Literally around every single corner there's animals. But let me tell you, you can definitely drive for half an hour and there'll be nothing on the open plains. We're just very lucky. We're not even far from camp. We're right down just below Agama Mara. Can you believe it? And all of these animals around here, the lions are there, the buffalo there, the wildebeest, the zebras, birds, you name it. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful spot. There's a couple of wildebeest too, and a few more buffalo here and there. How awesome is that? So they're still coming around this side. But they'll graze this area down short as well. They seem to be working on it at the moment. I'm finally having the opportunity to do a little bit my side. Seen some interesting birds. I haven't even had a chance just yet to go through them. But I suspect when we do find a pride this afternoon, a pride of lions, and we settle with them, if they're not getting up to too much, I will be pulling out my bird book and going through it and trying to figure out who on earth I've been seeing as we are driving around. But it could be quite exciting a little bit later today with the Agama Pride. So like Steph was saying, if there is any action, of course, keep an eye out on Facebook because we definitely will be going live with those broadcasts throughout the day. But there's just animals everywhere. Every little black speck that you see on screen is an animal. Now, Shamson, you say that not the red-billed oxpecker, the yellow-billed oxpecker, that's what this one is. There's number 79 on your bird list, your Mara bird list. Wow, goodness, Brent, 71, not even 79, 71, sorry about that. So that's very exciting, that's great to know. I don't even know what birds I've seen just yet in Mara, so I'm so behind, but I will get going. I couldn't even count how many birds I've seen in South Africa. Can you believe it? But we'll keep moving on. We're going to move from these buffalo now. We're going to head and try and find a male lion that we saw last night. I'm going to send you across to Byron, and he's one step ahead of us. He's got a lioness.
We're still sitting with this lioness, but I think I'm going to leave her now. She's been lying in this position for the past 10 or 15 minutes. Very comfortable. She's still contact calling now and then, trying to hear. We'll find if she can get any call back from the pride. So I'm hoping she does decide, or she does find the lions. I think we are going to leave this lioness now, so maybe give her some time to try find the pride. Hopefully she has some luck. I don't know if she's just going to rest here, or maybe decide to move around again later once we've left. But we've spent a fair amount of time with her, and lovely seeing her, and hopefully she does find the pride, and maybe they've got something to eat for her. If we drive around, maybe we get some signs of them in this area, so we'll have a look. This morning, maybe this afternoon, we'll come back and have a good look around, because she must know something that we don't, that these lions must be in this area somewhere. Yeah, I'll get another brancher sensor. Oh, it sounds like Scott has a mongoose in the Mara, and that is interesting to see. So let's go across to Scott now and find out what species it is.
Hello everyone, and we have a wonderful little family, or quite large family actually, of banded mongoose. I've usually counted between kind of 20 and 30 in each of the family groups that we've seen. Interestingly, as we arrived on the scene, we kind of got the impression that they could have been scavenging some tidbits off this old rancid gnu carcass. I think there are still one or two just close to the carcass there, but they may be just, oof, it stinks. The wind is blowing straight towards us now and getting some very pungent, unpleasant aromas from that carcass. What's interesting is that they're not the only interesting or abnormal animals we've seen snacking on carcasses this morning. Some of you guys have seen the hippo nibbling on a carcass in the Mara River, which is not too far from here, I believe. With Steph, there's a sacred ibis who's also lurking around these guys. Both quite interesting species to see around a carcass. Wonderful. Another interesting thing about the carcasses, some of them that you see strewn across these plains, is that they're still fairly intact. So we can be certain that large scavengers have hardly fed on this. So this may have died of natural causes. Had lions or hyenas fed on this, you would see very little skin, and it would just be bones that remain. But I'm guessing it's mainly vultures that have fed on this one. And there's just such a surplus of food for the scavengers that not all of the carcasses will be torn apart as they ordinarily would be if there was less food around. And off they go. I'm surprised they don't get aerial attacks from predators more. Possibly they do. It would be something very interesting to see. It's something we've battled to document as predatory birds hunting. And that's obviously because we battle to stay with them, as we cannot fly like they can. But it is something that I foresee us possibly being able to document in the coming weeks and months, because when these mongooses run through the open clearings as they are now, they've got very little cover or escape routes. So large predatory birds like martial eagles, I'm sure from time to time, will snack on them. So we're going to start working our way back up the Mara River in an area that we have not yet traversed this morning, in the hope that we find some action along there. Usually it is quite productive with predators along the river, but we thought we'd start off in the less busy areas where we can off-road to see if we get any luck there. And seeing as though we haven't had much luck in those areas, we thought we'd go to the slightly busier areas where some other vehicles may have already found some animals, which will make our lives easier in finding them too. Okay, we are going to be sending you now back to one of the river cams. However, it will no longer be Steph narrating, it will be Mr. James Henry.
Hello everybody, yes, I've managed to pull myself out of my bed, you know, very brave of me it was. And here we find, well, the same hippo that you were watching with Steph earlier. But interestingly, they are lurking about, not at their carcass anymore. There's their carcass, the one that they were chewing on. They're lurking about with some crocodiles, and an uneasy peace has developed here. And I think that's for a number of reasons. I'm sure that crocodile's hanging around to try and see if he can have a go at that carcass. And the other reason is that these are quite small crocodiles, and I wonder if that doesn't have something to do with the easiness with which the relationship is currently progressing between the hippopotamus and the reptiles, all of whom look like they are really quite over life at the moment. They're just kind of standing there looking a bit morose, and that could be on account of the weather. You know how the weather affects your state of mind. It tends to make me feel a bit miserable when it's like this, and I think the hippo are the same. And you say, what would the hippo be missing from their diet if they're eating meat? And not necessarily anything. So what I mean by that is hippo are well documented for eating carcasses. It's not unusual to see them doing it. It's just quite interesting to see them doing it, and we don't see it often at Djuma, for example, because we don't have hippo in and amongst carcasses as often as we do here. But it really isn't that unusual. So their diet does consist of carrion from time to time, and therefore their diet is not necessarily lacking in anything. What nutrients do they get from the carcasses? I'm just watching that one yawn there. Well, there would be some extra protein, I suppose. There might be some fat. It's probably largely, it's probably a bit of both that they need. There won't be too much fat on a sort of savanna ungulate. They don't tend to produce a lot of fat, but the amount of protein that is available from grass, especially during dry times, is limited. And it's not a very dry time at the moment, but there is a protein source that is sitting there. Other than that, from the bones, I guess they're sucking the bones. They might get a bit of phosphorus and calcium in the same way that giraffe do. But it's not unusual to find any herbivores sucking on bones or even eating stones, or licking sand every so often. We've seen nyala doing it. We've seen nyala eating or sucking on the bones of giraffe. We've seen nyala sucking on the shells of tortoises quite often at Djuma, and we've definitely seen giraffe often mangling, well, not mangling, but they sort of suck and then chew and then suck and then chew on the bones of various carcasses. So it's not unusual for herbivores to sample animal products from time to time. LMI, you say, is the carcass worth eating even if the crocodiles won't defend it? I'm not really sure what your question means. What's going on here is that there is so much food in the river that the crocodiles are quite full. It's quite chilly outside, so they're going to struggle to move around because they're reptiles. The hippos, of course, rather like you and I, are warm-blooded, which means that they can move around. It doesn't matter how cold it is. And so I think you'll find that the lack of crocodile activity on that particular carcass is a combination of both things. But there are carcasses strewn about this river absolutely from top, at least from source to basically from source to where it ends, mouth, and I guess that's what I'm going for, source to mouth. And, there'll be crocodiles eating those things the whole way along. Chuck, you say it's nice to see hippos out of the water. It is quite fun, isn't it? It's much more fun to see them sitting out of the water where they are now rather than happening upon them in the bush while you're on a walk. That I find to be one of the most terrifying things, because you know that they don't like seeing people on foot, and so very, very careful, especially on a day like this. If you're taking a walk with guests, you've got to be super careful on a day like today, because you could easily find hippos still grazing, coming back from a night out. See the octopeckers enjoying some time on the hippo. But you see how they're just standing there, kind of resting their mouths on the sand and looking a bit confused and dazed by life. Let's go out a bit. Oh, no. Shamsan, you say one of the hippos looks very pregnant. I can't tell if a hippopotamus looks pregnant or not. They all look pregnant to me, including the bulls. So I really couldn't tell. Maybe you're talking about this one. And you say, what is the gestation period? The gestation period of a hippo is unusually short for an animal this size. It's about 8 months. That's less than a human being. And yet they weigh 2.5 tons for some of them. This female does look like she could be pregnant. I mean, I say that, I don't know that for sure. She's just got a very fat, round belly, doesn't she? except I'm not sure that that's a female. Let's hope for some tail movement here. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit anatomical as I zoom in to see what I can see here. I think that's a bull. I don't think that's a cow. Right, so from one pregnant hippo bull, we're going to go across to Byron, who's had a particularly poor birding morning. He's only added one. No, he hasn't added any from yesterday. Let's go over to him.
Not just yet, but I'm hoping to add some shortly. Let's have a look around here. Oxpecker, that doesn't count. We've seen oxpeckers. I'm just scanning around this waterhole. In the trees, yesterday there were a lot of birds around here. Let's have a look. Snazzy, now I was thinking, it's all relative. I don't know about the smallest, most powerful bird. I don't know. Is it one of the falcons, maybe? Possibly one of the falcons. Is it one of the owls? Yeah, Tally, you said you think maybe a peregrine falcon. Yeah, possibly. But I don't know. I don't know. Snazzy, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. How do you measure it? How do you... Yeah, I'm not sure. You've stumped me on that one. I'm just going to scan these trees quickly. See, maybe we can get a chin spot batis or something bouncing around these trees. There's a bit of a breeze blowing at the moment, and I see absolutely no birds. LMI, you asked, what is the largest number of owls that I've spotted in a single drive? I'm trying to think. I think it's 3 or 4. I think that's it, 3 or 4, which is still cool. I think the amount of different ones though, it's probably 3. I think giant eagle owl, pearl spotted owl, and not wood owl, the barred owlet. I think those 3. I think it's 3 different species in one drive. Sounded like a small little bird flying around. See, now I've got to start looking for these really small little birds, the ones that are not easy to find. Let's see if we can't get I don't know, something. Now, Rick, you asked if we get peregrine falcons here. Now, I've never seen in the sands. I'm just trying to look for their distribution. I've never seen here, though. They say they come through. They come through from time to time, but I've never seen it here. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've seen a peregrine falcon in Southern Africa. Just luck of it. It's funny. Sometimes these birds, they're just certain birds that you just haven't seen yet, which is good. So I'm hoping to spot one at some point. But I've seen some of the other falcons, the Amma falcon, the the Lana falcon. I saw those in the Kalahari. Those were nice. Pygmy falcon. That's probably a bird, Snazzy. That's suppose a falcon, that the smallest and most powerful. Pygmy falcon. Let me show you a picture of one quickly. That little bird over there. Can you see that, Senzo? Is that okay? There we go. That's a little pygmy falcon. Beautiful little bird. Which you mainly get up in the desert areas, drier areas. Now that is probably one of the more powerful tiny birds. It's small. It's small, very, very small little pygmy falcon. 20 centimeters tall, not large at all. What else what other falcons have I seen? Red-necked falcon I also saw in the Kalahari. So those birds are always nice to see. Alright, well, we're going to continue our search for birds, and our friend Scott is still in the Mara with that beautiful male lion that he found earlier.
Hello everyone, and from one lioness in South Africa to another. Good timing, as Byron, I'm told, has just left that one. This lioness does have another one of her pride members nearby, and she is heading straight towards some buffalo. Now, I find it highly, highly improbable that she's going to try and attack them. If anything, if they catch wind of her, they may chase her, which will be quite humorous. Always interesting to see the hunter becoming the hunted. And Byron obviously just misheard. He thought we had a male lion. We don't. We've got two lioness, one of which is kind of further to the left of where this one is. At least that's where we last saw her. And again, I just find it... Oh, the first buffalo seen her. If you just zoom out a bit, there's a buffalo approaching her. Look at that. Isn't that fascinating? And it could well chase her. Here it goes. I'm not sure if you can hear the tourists cheering for joy behind me. It's quite funny. They were quite happy that the buffalo chased that lioness away. And it's simply too dangerous, too large a prey for two ladies to be taking down, unless, of course, they were desperate. These big buffalo bulls. Oh, here comes another buffalo bull coming charging in. And I'm sure this lioness is just going to try and create as much space between herself and them as possible. And she's probably heading up into the little rocky outcrops and thickets that you can see in the distance there. They often like to sleep out there during the day, I'm told. VM spent quite a bit of time in this area with these lion. He says there's often a third lioness, so we're not sure where she could be. As I said, we've only seen two. And also Scar, a very well-known big male lion, also often lingers in this area. It's the only kind of area that I've seen him in. Let's just get one or two more views, see what she's going to end up doing. We've just come from that direction, and there's sadly no smaller bite-sized snacks for her. So not too much in the way of any possible food that we saw. Of course, there could have been something hiding behind a bush that I haven't noticed. Actually, speaking of which, I think there is an impala up on that ridge there. Let me just reverse a little bit. Just to the left of the tree, VM, I can see something kind of orange colored. Oh, looks like the lioness got chased again. We're clearly a little bit lower than where she is, so we can't see her. That was an impala though, AVM?
No, it's still not.
Oh. Hello, Dory. You'd like to know if I think this lioness has cubs in the area? She could, but I am not aware of the lioness here having any cubs. And I certainly didn't see any distinctive baggy mammary glands dangling below her belly and or suckle marks, so I do not think so. Let's try and sneak forward, get a few more views. So what I thought was an impala was a termite mound. And as predicted, she is heading up into that little rocky outcrop, thanks to VM's forecast. Who knows how much longer these buffalo will feel it necessary to keep following her. They will probably lose interest fairly soon as she heads into those thickets. She's trying to be a tough girl by plonking herself down right in broad sight of them, and that's probably not a clever move. She should just try and disappear and then they'll stop following her, which I think she's eventually going to do. Jeez, they're impressive buffalo bulls, those. Well, the other lioness, I'm not sure if you can see her, VM. She was, I think, straight in front of us. I can't see her. I'm a bit low here. Is she behind? Oh, there she is. So here's the second lioness. And she too will probably join the first one that's headed up into those thickets. Maybe go back up to the top one, the buffalo approaching again, wildebeest, sorry. Fuzzman, you enjoy seeing the lions being chased by the buffalo, and so do I. It's always good to see the roles reversed, and buffalo are certainly one prey species that can really turn it on against the predators, especially when there's large herds. They can, after the initial shock of the lions possibly ambushing them or scaring them, or once they've kind of come to terms with the fact that there's lion in the area, they often regroup after having initially fled the scene and then come in with numbers to chase the lions away. Very, very good. All right, well, we are going to move on from here and see what else we can find, start heading back towards home. We are quite hungry and looking forward to breakfast. And Tayla sounds like she's got herself into a large herd of wildebeest, so why don't you go and see what's happening there.
I feel like I've just been swimming in wildebeest today. I haven't got myself out of a herd of wildebeest. It's been fairly pleasant, but we're bumbling along now. We just came to check on the spot where I saw the male lion. Manu also saw him yesterday. Quite a nice looking fella along this main stretch of road, but unfortunately he's moved off. I don't know where he's gone to. And then we also got wind that apparently there's another pride of lions on the riverine thicket somewhere, the forest down to the east of us. Some guests saw it from a hot air balloon. How nice is that? And so we probably will go follow up on that a little bit later, but we're just sitting here, we're admiring the scenery again, just checking out for those single lions that have been seen around this area. Obviously that lioness that James had, we trying to follow up on her. No sign of her just yet. So it's not too much happening just yet. It's the wildebeest are making so much noise. But I have something to show you, Manu. I have to show the viewers our new character. They're going to be so excited. Who's ready to meet Maurice? I haven't showed you yet. This is Maurice. This is my gift from, well, most of the team up here in Kenya, which was really cool, Mara team, so thank you very much. Maurice now comes on safari with me every single day. It's an elephant. Or your scarf is over your tusk. So I also just want to take this moment, because I haven't said thank you. Thank you everybody for all the wishes. It's been a very busy last few days, but it was wonderful, and it sounds like I'm getting my suitcase back as well. Woo! Win all round. I'm so excited. But yes, Maurice, elephants, very cool. This might be the closest elephant that we get to. But yeah, so it's been really, really lovely out here. I'm definitely settling in. It's starting to feel just like a home. Oh my goodness. And it seems as though Byron is sticking to his old sort of routine. He's got his flask out. He's having a cup of coffee. Let's go across to him and see how many birds he's now got on his list.
I am indeed having my coffee. Now let's have a look. A bunch of birds just took off, and there was a bit of a bird party. We've got rattling testiculars. Let's have a look here. I think, yeah, we do have rattling testiculars. Still on 76. No new birds this morning. Oh, sorry, Wendy. I'll put the clutch in before I change gears. Come on, Sense. What are these little guys? Lots of little birds flying. This little bird here. What is that? Can't even see what that is, to be honest. Wait, there it is, jumping around. Is that not a... I can't see it. Can you see it? Sorry, I'm trying to... Let me move out the way. See if you can get it there, Sensor. I can't see it. There was a little bird. I think it was maybe just a testicular that jumped around there. I think that's what it was, Senzo. Once the birds disappear into this scrub, then it's almost impossible to see them. Alright, well let's it's okay, since I think it was a testicular. Jeffrey, you were asking if a shrike can be considered a bird of prey. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because the birds of prey generally have big talons and they hunt regularly. But the birds, oh look, there's a herd of wildebeest. It's our own migration. There they go. Running. Don't know what they're doing. They're just chasing one another. So Jeffrey, as I was saying, the shrikes though, they hunt insects, so they're insectivores, mainly insectivores. Yeah, they will possibly catch other sometimes little rodents and lizards and that, but I don't think they're considered a bird of prey. Bird of prey are eagles, falcons. Oh, Senza, I have got a bird that we don't have yet. It's the one I wanted to get. See those thin sticks that are sticking up where this little bush is? Just have a look at the top there and see if it's still there. No, that's this flycatcher. Is it? No, that's a southern black tit. Hang on, no. Wait, let me see. Oh. Sorry, Senzo, that's a fork-tailed drongo that you've got sitting over there. That you caught a glimpse of. Let's just see. It was a long-billed crombeck, a tiny little long-billed crombeck. Oh. Don't worry, they're gone. I don't think so. I don't think I've got a long-billed crombeck though, do I? Do I? Okay. Okay, apparently we've got that on the list. Oh, it's so frustrating though, trying to see these birds and they just disappear. Like I said, our list would be much higher if it was just the birds that I saw, because it's a lot quicker for me just to look with binoculars, get a glimpse of it, and as it flies away. Sorry, I just want to find out something quickly. Mike for Byron. Mike, did you have any luck with that lioness? Okay, copy. You should see the guarri branch that I dropped. I just want to find out if that lioness is still in that area. So I told someone where to go and have a look. But you see, I'm so kind. I put a branch in the road so it's easy for them to then know where we had her last. Huh? Far too kind, I think. Should maybe make some of these up. Anyway. Jenny, you asked, how does the martial eagle compare in size to the bald eagle? Jenny, I'm not sure. How tall is a bald eagle? Maybe our dear friend Megan can tell me. Megan, how tall is a bald eagle? Centimeters, please. And I will tell you because the martial eagle is very big, Jenny. She was fine when I was following her. I think it's the lioness from the Nkuhuma pride that has got the new cubs at the moment. You can see she is lactating. I think it's that female. She's just looking for the rest of the pride. Sorry, I'm... Megan, thank you. Megan says about... Megan said about 35 inches, so I've got no idea what that means. But she then said about 88 centimeters. So that's slightly bigger than a martial eagle. A martial eagle is about 81 centimeters, about 81 centimeters. So how big is that? Let's see. Sensor, if I was here, sorry, my nose is itchy. 30, about 30, that's 30, eh? 60, about there, I would say. If this eagle is sitting next to me, it's massive. It's a big eagle. And a bald eagle, a bit bigger than that. Massive. Those are huge birds of prey. Alright, so that lioness was still there. So I think we made the right call by leaving her. But hopefully she finds the rest of the pride at some point. Now let's head back across to Scott and find out how his journey back towards camp is going.
Yes, we have the zebras in a line and some wildebeest. I'm not sure if that was the correct English, and some wildebeest, forgive me. But an awesome scene, and look at all those wildebeest dotted in the background beyond them. Absolutely fascinating, the numbers of these animals, and also fascinating their movements. I'm always astounded by the fact that they sometimes are heading north and sometimes heading south, and who knows how exactly they determine where to go and when. They could be heading to a watering point now. There's a spot where especially the zebra like to drink not far behind us, and maybe the wildebeest are just tagging along for the ride. Beautiful. What's also fascinating is that you can drive through an area on one day and find nothing in it, and then the next day just be completely filled up and teeming with animals. So there's a large amount of movement between these animals over quite large areas in short spaces of time, which keeps us on our toes. Of course, we like to try and position ourselves in and amongst as many of the migrating herds as possible. Well, what got these zebra going? I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anything that would warrant them being frightened of. So possibly it's just some joyful running around. Janine, you would like to know if there is an adrenaline rush when the animals are hunting amongst us guides and the cameramen and all guides, and yes, certainly. I mean, the feeling of anticipation and excitement for the predators or for the prey, depending on whose team you are on, both of which I guess need support from us. But yeah, there's definitely a high amount of adrenaline and excitement whenever there's a potential hunt on the cards. I know that's certainly the case for me and most other guides. I find it hard to believe that there will not be an increased heart rate when there are these exciting times. And what's important to remember is that, most guides spend hours and hours out and very seldom see actual hunts unfolding. So it's naturally very exciting because it's something that's rare for us to see. Even in the migration here, where we've been spoilt with a surplus of hunts and kills and takedowns and incredible action, even still it's something that I don't think any of us will ever get used to, regardless of how often we do get lucky. So, yeah. What would be quite nice would be to have a heart rate monitor attached to us for those exciting moments that would show up on the screen. Maybe that's some tech that we can add to our already fairly elaborate list of technical toys that we have on these vehicles. But that certainly would provide you guys and us with some interesting insights as to how excited we all get in these situations. Good, we're going to pop you across to Tayla, who I'm told is in a similar scenario to me regarding her surroundings and the animals in which are around her. Toodle-doo.
We've just got a couple of vehicles that have popped into the sighting now, but there's a massive group of wildebeest and zebra, and it was really incredible last night. Obviously, I'm still coming to terms with everything, but as we were driving home quite late, was spotting the spotlight, and it's amazing how everything goes to the hills, the escarpment, rests, and then comes back out into the open. So that's what these wildebeest are doing now. And the zebra is they've rested, they're waking up, and now they're moving out into the open where they will graze. They'll probably go and drink some water at some point too. We've even got a zebra having a roll. Wasn't that nice? Not too dusty over there. We know how important it is for these animals to roll around in dust. They can't just apply a medicine to get rid of the ticks, of course, so by rolling in the dust it helps suffocate all those parasites. Aren't they awesome? I'm in so much awe at the moment. It really is, it's an overwhelming experience being here and seeing so many animals. I've never seen this many animals before. There definitely weren't this many in Zambia, but how great is this? Let's go up a little bit further forward. I just want to reposition us just slightly. We get another view. See, now again the momentum is gaining, and once one lot decides to cross, then they all do. We're going to have another rolling zebra, I think. This one looks like it's looking for the perfect spot. You see, it's that movement. There we go. You're careful of the rocks. You don't want to hit your head on a rock. Nice little spot here. Oh, there we go. Now, when I was riding horses and when I had horses, it was always a very good sign if your horse was able to roll completely over like that. It meant that it didn't have a sore back. So the zebra is obviously in good nick. And now look at that. Now that one or two of them have started rolling, the rest of the herd want to join in. That is so typical of animals in the equus family. And now they're all going to have a roll there. There, off you go. Ooh, beautiful coloration on this one. Whee, there we go. You're going to go back and do it again? Kick in the air. Zebra always seem to be so graceful, the way that they roll. When a wildebeest does it, it's not as impressive. But these don't look like adults. These look like youngsters. Off we go. All the little ones are sort of grouped together. Another one, next one coming in. My turn. Have a spot, have a chance to roll in the dust. No, not too impressed with the smell of that. Giving a snort and dismay. You can see how the younger zebra, look how light in color they still are, look how fluffy they are. That's also very important to keep those youngsters nice and warm through the chilly night. So it's definitely not as cold as Djuma. I have yet to put gloves on. I haven't even worn a big jacket just yet, although yesterday morning was a little bit nippy. But otherwise, it's quite nice. Now, I just want to move out of the way quickly for this other car. I'm just going to... Oh, no, never mind. They're being quite nice. They're able to squeeze past. I'll just give them a bit more room. We just do this. Wave. Be friendly. Of course, we're still friendly as South Africans. All right, let's have a quick look here. Hi, Zebbies. There was a whole lot of cars that stopped up, and I don't know what they've all gone now. I wonder if they also just weren't watching the wildebeest and the zebras coming down from the hills. I'm just quickly scanning. This is the area where James had that lioness yesterday. Maybe let's go check. I don't know what intrigued everybody so much. Everyone has now moved on. But you just never know. What could have also happened is maybe there was something and it actually moved off into this thicket. This would be a very good spot for a leopard. It's so nice and thick around here. Lots. We'll eventually start talking about all the nice vegetation as we go about as well. Lots of matumi trees by the looks of it. I think they look like matumi trees. No, I don't see any lions. No, maybe it was just another impressive sort of crossing of the wildebeest coming through and heading out into the open plains. But I'm going to send you back across to Byron now. He's just bumbling along in Djuma, but you never know what you'll see next.
Well, I went past the hyena den just to have a look, but no sign of any activity there. I haven't had any luck with that hyena den since I've been back. I haven't seen any hyena cubs or adults there. But we'll keep checking every now and then. But yeah, no sign of anything there at the moment. Hey, why you said how long has it been since we've seen a giraffe? It's been a while, I think. Maybe 4 or 5 days, I think, somewhere around there. Can't remember now, actually. Starting to warm up quite nicely now. Eduardo, you asked if I'm afraid of getting lost in between the thickets when we go off-roading. No. This area, it's quite easy to navigate through, or especially once you get used to an area. But like this area, it's fairly small, so chances. I mean, no. Eduardo, I don't think so. I don't think you could get lost. Like I said, obviously spending more time in the bush and more experience, it does help. But yeah, the road network and that, you just have to pick a direction and head that way, and eventually you would hit the road. It's very difficult to get lost, yeah. Maybe if you knew. We've got those are the red-breasted swallows. We've seen them. Gee, it's been so hard to find a new bird this morning. See, I told you, once we start hitting these high 70s and 80s, it's going to be very difficult to get new species. I was hoping to get to 80 this morning, but let's sit here for a second. Let's just see if something flies past. I can hear rattling testiculars. I saw some quillias fly past. We still need 1 or 2 woodpeckers. We've got the bearded woodpecker. It would be nice to see the golden-tailed and the cardinal. I hear the golden-tailed often, but just haven't been able to see one. I think also with a bit of this wind, it's not ideal. It's not that windy, but it is. There's a breeze blowing. There's a woodpecker holding. It's just through that little gap there. Can you see it? Let's see. Which one's that? Yeah, it looked like a small one. Oh dear. Looks like a youngster. Can you see it there? Yeah. Oh, but which young one? Sometimes these woodpeckers give me more grey hairs than anything else. Now, is that not a... Where did it go? I'm trying to use my binoculars. It's a bit easier then to see, but please send screenshots. Where did it go now? It's still dancing around there, Sensei. Can you still see it? Yeah, there. Oh, it's directly behind a branch now. You see, but it is a young one. It doesn't really have that red. Can't see the red on the head. Can hear a squirrel alarm calling in the distance. I think this might be a little cardinal, a young cardinal. I think so, everyone, which is what I thought initially. Yep, that's a young cardinal woodpecker. That is great. Speaking about it, about seeing these little birds, I'll show you why I say that. Well, 77 for us. That's great. A new one. It is definitely a cardinal woodpecker. A young or female cardinal woodpecker, youngish female. Anyway, let's head across to James. I'm sure he is as excited as I am about the new bird to our list, and he is watching the river.
Across to Dusty Crossing. Come on, Rebecca, hurry up. Let's go to Dusty Crossing. Well done. I'm going to get punched in the face, everybody, after this drive. Apparently not in the face, but in the throat. Oh, I see there are some punters just having a little walk on the banks. Right, that's not very good. Let's avoid them. When one of them gets pushed into the river by a buffalo, I guess we'll all be able to sit here and say, well, we told you so, didn't we? Here we have another pod of hippopotami. My favourite crossing, this one. Or my favourite river view, this one in the evenings. And not much in the way. Is that a... Just trying to see if we're looking at a carcass there. I don't think we are. No, we aren't. But there are so many carcasses, and let's go. We can go back to cul-de-sac now, if you like. Yes, we can, Rebecca. There we go. Don't get ornery with me on the telephone. Not the telephone. What's this thing you're talking to me on? The radio. Yes, the radio. That's it. Oh, we've got a bird walking on a hippopotamus. Let's have a look what it is. It is a sandpiper walking on a hippo. That is very cool. That looks like a common sandpiper to me. I wonder what it thinks it's going to find there. Look at that. It's picking little bits and pieces out of the hippo's skin. That's fantastic. Let's see if he pops out the other side there. The hippo don't seem to mind in the slightest. How wonderful. All right, well, let's go out from there. I've never seen that before. And you certainly can learn all sorts of new things from watching the rivers on a daily basis. And now, can we get back to Dusty Crossing, please, Rebecca? There's action happening, huge action there. There's a crocodile coming out of the river. Oh, lucky those people aren't standing this side. That is an enormously, enormously fat reptile. Look at him lurking there behind the bank, waiting for something to step on him, thinking that he was just a stepping stone. He does. Rebecca says he looks like a balloon with spikes on it. I think that is quite true. He does look a bit ballooning. And he seems to realize that we're looking at him from the camera. You see, he's hidden himself behind this little tuft of grass. Unfortunately, his brain is so small that he's unable to compute the fact that because he can't see us, we can't see him. He's a little bit like a 2-year-old that hides its eyes and then thinks it cannot be seen. Anyway, that's all right. He doesn't need to know how to hide himself too well from cameras. Let's just see if there's anything else coming down towards the river. Which may have inspired the crocodile to adopt his current position. Alternatively, it was the sight of human beings walking. Freeze. Oh dear. Oh dear. No, we're okay. So apparently because I was sassy, according to Rebecca, that it froze. Rebecca, of course, clearly doesn't understand technology if she thinks that my sass is going to freeze the internet. All right, let's go back to cul-de-sac now. We've got hippopotamus up and about. Rebecca, you're getting really quick. Oh, I wonder they can see what they can see here. Hang on. There seems to be some, some action, some movement in the water, some ripples. They wouldn't be worried about a buffalo, but they could easily be worried about a lion. And the parrot, oh no, it's not a lion. In fact, let me show you what they're worried about. It would appear to be some more punters. Get back in your car, you cretin. All right, let's go back to Tayla with a hornless wildebeest.
So we obviously have a joke, and most of you know from watching. Down in South Africa, we talk about one-horn Sean. I've told you the story about the buffalo, but then one-horn Sean turned into an impala ram that hung around on Philemon's cut line quite a bit. We saw him for quite a few days, of most weeks, in fact. However, this wildebeest is sporting a new trend and has gone, horns are so 2016, and has got none. Now, it did look like a bull. I had a quick sort of scars that he has fought for many females in his life and has now unfortunately lost both of them. Now that can't be too good. That must be very difficult. I can't imagine he would be mating with very many females anymore, especially trying to compete with a wildebeest that has not even just one horn, but 2 horns. So a little bit sad for him. But he's an old boy. I think that's quite nice, in fact. Isn't that interesting? I must tell you as well, guess what? I saw a chameleon last night. I'm going to go back today and look for the chameleon in the tree. It was around camp to take a picture so I can find out what species of chameleon it is. It looked fairly similar to a flapneck chameleon, but I haven't got a clue as to the species that you get around here. But it has been a pleasure this morning, don't you think? Filled with lots of lion action. Also, hyenas were on form with Scott earlier on. And I hope that you have enjoyed all of this just as much as we have out here. And I'm going to continue exploring and finding all the wonderful things. But keep an eye out. You never know what might happen on the dam cams today. So keep an eye out for those Facebook lives. But from all of us here, from the whole Wild Earth team, thank you for everything. And we'll see you for the Sunset Safari.